Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. An absolute nightmare for Leeds United tonight as West Ham pick up all 3 points away at Fulham, and somehow also Nottingham Forest managed to get a draw away at Manchester City, a team obviously we were unable to beat at the weekend. And having Leeds United obviously already lost yesterday against Sunderland, now we are just completely in the relegation battle now, aren't we? I think well and truly we are in the relegation battle. That couldn't have gone much worse tonight, really couldn't. And we're going to talk sort of all about that in this video. Of course, if you're going to the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff would massively help the channel in this dire time. I've got to be honest. I don't even feel like saying that to you guys because I'm just sort of, I don't know, I'm really worried now, if I'm being totally honest. I'm sort of, I know people are going to say we've got good games left. We had a good game last night. And the worrying thing tonight, of all the things, and it's the first thing that's popped in my head, it was the thing that popped in my head the whole game. I feel like we'd have drawn away at Fulham tonight 1-1. I feel like we'd have found a way to draw at Fulham 1-1. And I feel like West Ham have managed to win that game 1-0, and Leeds just don't seem to do that. We haven't won. We've had times like that so many times this season, away from home, away at Everton, draw 1-1, away at Villa, draw 1-1, throw points away at Newcastle. I know Newcastle are a good team and all context apply, but throw points away there. Brentford away, much better team, didn't get the 3 points. I mean, the list goes on with these 1-1s away from home. There's another one I can't remember, Brentford as well, away from home, really good performance, only a 1-1 draw. And I feel like in them games, had West Ham been in their positions, they would have got more points in them than we have. And I think if we do end up getting relegated, it will be them draws where we should have got wins that will end up sending Leeds United down. But as I said, we are now in the fight. We really are. Now, context needs to be applied, and I think people obviously go, we're relegated now, we're relegated. And we're not. We're not down tonight. That's a massive hit in the road for Leeds United, but we're not relegated tonight. Like at the weekend, obviously, for example, West Ham play against Manchester City, a game when you would hope that Man City win the game. And also, we play at Crystal Palace away. So we beat Crystal Palace away. They obviously lose against Man City, and we're back to the 6-point gap. But this week, to find a way when they've got Fulham away and Forest have got Man City away, and we lose ground on them too when we're playing Sunderland at home, it is a disaster. This has been an absolute disastrous game week for Leeds United, and maybe this will be, hopefully not, and touch wood not, and we've still got a gap, and I'm trying not to be so negative here. But if we do end up dropping out, this could be a major turning point in the season. We had it last season, didn't we? And I think someone said this on the stream earlier. They said it's got to the point with Fark every single season where we have started to have a blow up near the end of the season. We had it in this first year and we didn't get away with it. We had it last year, and then in the sort of final 6 games we saved ourselves winning them all. We're obviously not going to be able to do that this year because that stakes are much higher, but we won't need to win them all. But we are now in a position where we just need to see a performance now at Crystal Palace. We need to see a performance at Crystal Palace, and we need to see a performance at Brentford. We need 4 points in them games at least. We do. Because to be honest with you, Villa have been absolutely smashed tonight, and we're hoping obviously Villa do us a favour when they play against West Ham in a few weeks' time. I'm not sure they will. I'm not convinced they will. They were awful when we played against Villa. We should have. I know Villa are where we are, and we go, good point, move on. We should have won that game, and this is what I mean about games like that we found a way to draw when we should have won. Ollie says, nice one, Fart. Bottled a huge opportunity for him and his inability to attack from the start last night, proving costly. If we stay up now, I think it was us to shake hands and move on. See, the thing is with this, Ollie, you would probably wouldn't have said that, obviously, had Fulham not been absolutely crap tonight. Like, Fulham were dreadful tonight in the game against West Ham and gave West Ham the goal that they scored. Had that not have happened, obviously, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd still be going, it's Rose, and we wouldn't be talking as much about Leeds manager. So I know what you're saying in terms of, but just because Fulham won doesn't mean that our manager's now worse than he was if they hadn't have won, if that makes sense. But I know what you're saying. It's almost as if you play so defensive against Team Ridder with injuries at home. Yeah, well, look. But also, as I said, now Forest and sort of West Ham are showing that they can pick up points. And truthfully, they've been losing a few recently. And before tonight, I think West Ham had won 1 in 5 after being on this great, the good run that they had previous to that, where I think they won 3 in 4. But they were playing quite well. They weren't playing badly. And tonight, look, it comes from a moment of just absolute disaster class from Leno at the back. But they still create an opportunity, and you look at some of their players in attacking areas, and I do think they're better than ours. Like, I don't think we've got a player probably is in form as like a Crysencio Summerville at this moment in time, or is technically good as a Crysencio Summerville. We've had him at the football club, so we know what he's about anyway. But obviously he's on a fantastic run now. I think he's got 7 in his last 10 Premier League games. He is a real threat, and they have got goals in that West Ham team. And obviously Forest now, you've got Morgan Gibbs-White who's stepping up for them, scored another good goal tonight, having obviously got the goal away at Brighton in what was a loss, but did get a goal away at Brighton. So look, it's starting to the big players for big teams now are starting to get better. They are. And as I said, I do want context to be applied, because we aren't relegated tonight. And I think some people will say that we are. We're not. And as I said, let's see where we're at after the next 2 games. And we've got Brentford at home, who will be maybe playing to our system a bit more, in terms of they'll come at us, they'll try win the game, because obviously they're trying to get into Europe. And hopefully then we can get a goal and win that game. And we've obviously got other good games. We've got Wolves at home still. We've got Burnley at home. These are all facts and these are all true. So it's not like the whole world's been set on fire tonight. But we are at the start of this week. We were boarding where, are we in a relegation battle? Are we not? But tonight, we have been confirmed tonight that we are well in this fight now. We going into this game week, we were 14-1 to be relegated. Well, I imagine the odds are not 14-1 anymore. When fans talk about free hits instead of going out and trying to win, it shows how low the bar is. We're all Leeds fans next season regardless, so no one is stressing. Not fully sure, so no use stressing. Mate, Leeds fans are going to stress. I think people can stress if they want to do, and after if they don't want to. If you're able not to stress, then fair play to you. But I think some of us others will. Was counting on that win last night. Feel like we'll need to be fit. We will be favourites to go down now. I don't agree with that, Ernie. I still think with the games that West Ham have got coming up, they've still got Man City and Villa in the next 2, and Villa away from home. They're not going to be easy games, them 2. There's a chance that they lose both them games, and if we pick up 4 points in the next 2, which I do think is plausible, then we can obviously still be in an advantageous position. So it's not all an absolute disaster. There's going to be twists and turns. And I did say on the show we did earlier today that we've had quite a steady ride as Leeds fans so far in this relegation fight. We've not really been dragged into it. We've always had a bit of a gap since it's gone sort of past Christmas period, and we've always had a bit of security that we're kind of going to be all right. Whereas tonight, we are now, and it won't going to go on. What I'm saying is, it won't going to go on like that forever. And tonight we are dragged into it now. We are, but I don't think we're favourites to go down. I really don't. And I imagine the bookies are in the sort of situation with that as well. If he plays D-Cell on his own at Palace and Gruev in the middle, then I think I'll start to get deeply concerned. Look, the thing is, Ole, is that the Crystal Palace game is a different game, a different complexion of game to the Sunderland game. People might hate this. I don't mind him playing a similar lineup to what he played in the Sunderland game away at Crystal Palace. I don't mind that, because that strategy suits that game more. Crystal Palace are going to come on to Leeds United. They're going to try win the game. So us playing a bit more of a defensive style and try to hit them in transition, like we've done away from home with a lot of success at times, is not a bad strategy. The issue was last night, it shouldn't have been that away strategy. It should have been the home strategy, where we had more creators on the pitch trying to win the game, because we're playing opposition who weren't trying to win the game. That was the issue. So there will be an absolute meltdown if the lineup is sort of D-Cell, Aronson and the midfield 3 at the weekend. That 100% there'll be a meltdown. I won't be saying that. Now, obviously, results bias will dictate that as well. If we go there and win 2-0, then no one's going to give a toss. Do I think we are going to go and win at Crystal Palace? Truthfully, no, I don't, because we haven't showed we can win away from home yet, have we? Because like I said, we haven't done that. We've put in good performances away from home, and we've shown that we can play well away from home. We haven't shown we can win away from home yet. All we've won is away at Wolves. And actually, truthfully, and I didn't want to have this conversation because I thought we might not have to do it. But even if you remember the Wolves game away from home, we literally parked the bus in the second half, and we didn't attack at all second half, and we just and Wolves came onto us, but didn't have the quality to break us down, and we just sat in. But had it been maybe 2-1 at half time and not 3-1, it could have been a different story in that game. So I'm still worried away from home that we can win games, because people are going to say we're going to win at Palace, but I don't really see the merit in that, and I don't see what that's based off, because we haven't shown yet we can go and win at grounds away from home. We haven't shown that, in my opinion. Bad results all around. Keep the faith. Yeah, I'm kind of a bit like that, Gipton White. I am. I must admit, I'm nervous now, though. I really am. I'm more nervous because it's not just it's not just the points now, is it? It's the changing philosophy and the changing psychology that comes with what's happened tonight. It's not just about the points. Like, the points still look good, and if it had been the other way around, and this week we'd have been level on points and we'd have gone 3 points ahead of West Ham tonight after having beat Sunderland, they lost away at Fulham, it would be a different sort of complexion, wouldn't it? A different sort of situation. But it's the other way around. We had 6 points and we've lost 3 points. On the chasing on West Ham of the bottom chasing team as such. So that's why it's the psychology of it's slightly different than just the 3 points, because it's moving in that direction now, isn't it? It is, and I can't really get around that. Reminds me of 2 seasons ago when we blew it. Potentially played the wrong team last night. Agreed. All those draws, late cost goals, Leeds. Yeah, look, we've thrown away a lot of points, and there was a thing popped up by TNT tonight. I don't know if people saw it, that we'd thrown away 17 points from winning positions this year, and people are going to batter that down and go, that's horrendous. And you're right, it is. But truthfully, teams at the bottom of the league do throw away lots of points. That's kind of why they are where they are. Like West Ham are throwing away more than us. I think they'd thrown away 20 points from winning positions this year, more than Leeds United had. So if you are down the bottom of the league, naturally you do lose. Like you do give up points when you go ahead more than other teams. So that. But we have done that too much. We've just conceded too many late goals, haven't we? Like we have. Like, I mean, there was a stat that went round about the 85th minute, and we just conceded far too many. I mean, off the top of my head, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Aston Villa away, Newcastle away. How many more is there? It is pretty ridiculous. I think we gassed last night due to the effort we put in against City, factoring the diabolical refereeing. Yeah, I think there's something in that. But again, Gibbs-White, for the people who sort of anti-Fark at the moment in the chat, which is fair enough, he could have rotated the team, couldn't he? He could have rotated it. Why didn't he start? If you wanted to, even if you say you wanted to play the 3 holding midfielders, Gruev's just ran himself into the ground away at Man City. Why not play Longstaff, who's fresh? Do you know what I mean? Why not do that if you're worried about that, if you're worried about intensity? He can still bring the same intensity, and actually he's a bit more attacking. So you could argue, if you wanted to even go a bit more defensive, maybe Longstaff should have started last night. We have got options in there at the moment. Scott, you take comments too personally, but if you ask for your opinions, you should be able to deal with them in a fair way. I'm quite good at that, mate, if I'm being honest. But you can have your opinion if I take it well or not. But I'm quite good at that. We have winnable games at home. Are people forgetting Daniel Farke's record versus Parker, Wolves' form, and the fact both are going to play a low block, which we struggle against? Yeah, that's kind of the worry about. Again, it wasn't just the loss last night, was it? Like it was everything that encompasses it in terms of now we're more worried going into these Wolves and Burnley games, which we probably thought were going to be wins. There's loads of different factors that play into it. You're absolutely right, Ollie. It's hard not to panic. West Ham look too good. Beginning to think staying ahead of Spurs is our best chance. That's the other thing. Like Spurs are still crap. Like this is another bet. Like Spurs are still below us in the league. They obviously play tomorrow. If they don't beat Palace tomorrow, they're going to be massively in the mix. They've not won a game in 2026 yet. So they're as in it as the fight, and we haven't really mentioned them obviously because they haven't played yet. If they beat Palace, I think we're going to be in even more difficulty. But if they lose to Palace, then their fans will be absolutely cacking it, because truthfully, currently it's West Ham, Forest or Spurs that are still more likely to go down because of the points they're on. They're all below us still. Do people forget 23-24 when we lost at home to Blackburn, drew 0-0 to Sunderland and lost 4-0 at QPR to bottle it, which we all labelled as wins? Some last season with Swansea, QPR and Luton. Yeah, you're right. I think that's fair. I agree with rotating a bit. Yeah, look, so do I. I think that's what he should have done. I think it was obvious, because I remember the game when I probably didn't see it coming, in terms of I thought they'd probably be all right, because Farke did a lot of sort of, not propaganda as such, but he did a lot of stuff when he talked about it, didn't he? Where he was saying that players are going to be fine because they've stayed at home and all that. And I probably bought into that, which was probably wrong of me. But they did look off it, because truthfully, we'd seen it before, haven't we? We'd seen that Chelsea home performance where we were fantastic, won the game. And then we saw Liverpool. And now I know we got a draw in that game and we got a positive result. But having said all that, we still looked leggy in that game, didn't we? We still looked leggy. Do you think not spending January could come back to bite us? I don't know, mate, because the thing is that were they even going to play? Because it's all good buying players, but they've got to actually come in and make a difference. And we bought what I deemed to be quite a decent signing in January in Buonanotte, and he's played 45 minutes of footy, and he hasn't played at all in the Premier League, and he's not really getting in our squads. So it's all good saying we should have bought in January, but if you buy in January, the manager's also got to use the players you buy, if that makes sense. And I look around the league and maybe, or in the relegation battle, and maybe be outside of outside of West Ham, we've obviously brought in Castellanos and Pablo and Desarsi, them three have made a huge difference, especially Castellanos and Desarsi. No other team really has brought in players in January that in around the relegation battle have made a huge difference. Luca's not really doing anything at Forest at the moment in time. I know he scored against us, but he's not really making any difference. That next that every Leeds fan was moaning about on deadline day is not really doing anything for Forest either, not really changed their complexion. So truthfully, it's not just about buying players, it's about bringing in players that were actually going to help us. And I kind of don't think the players were there. And also, like, if we'd have bought Strand Larsen, say we'd bought Strand Larsen, again, I don't think we'd have not lost. I think we'd have still lost against Sunderland if Strand Larsen had been the team. The issue in that game was that we didn't have enough creativity, as opposed to we didn't have enough strikers that could score goals in the team, in my opinion. So I get what you're saying, and I think people will look back at the January transfer window. I don't think that's what it was, though, if I'm being honest. I think we missed Okafor on Tuesday. We need him back ASAP for those tight games. I agree. The thing is with Okafor is he's someone that Fark will play, but he's also someone who's a bit different to the rest of the team. So Fark sometimes, like, we've got other players that are slightly different in terms of Tanakas, Nontos, Buenotes, etc., who are all different sort of players that Fark just doesn't seem to like. But we've got Okafor, who actually is maybe a bit like them, but actually Fark seems to like him and will play him and will start him. And you're right, we did miss no Okafor. You are right to say that. We did miss no Okafor on Tuesday. The thing was with that is in the match reaction, I was going to talk about no Okafor in the match reaction. And I did a bit, but truthfully, it seemed a bit ridiculous to talk about injuries when Sunderland had about 25 injured players and we had one. So it's one of them where you're always going to have injuries and kind of deal with it. And I did think we had options to deal with it in the likes of Wilfred Gnonto, I think, could have started last night. So, you know, I think I agree with you about the Okafor situation, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have played Gnonto. We should have just played Gnonto. He's the second choice in that position, if that makes sense. Gaza says if we survive, which I doubt, it won't be referees that got us relegated. Many causes, but playing attacking-minded players doesn't help. But not playing attacking-minded players doesn't help. Yeah, it didn't help last night. There is no point backing Fark when he still put Perot on the bench over Buenote, the only player we signed in January and the player who Fark wanted since he was appointed. Yeah, well, Fark's been after Buenote for a long time. I'm hoping, to be honest, Ollie, and I think this is quite an important game against Norwich. Not in terms of, like, truthfully, the result now against Norwich for me is quite meaningless because we have got to focus massively on the lead now. Maybe before this week you could look at if we'd have beat Sunderland and they'd have lost tonight and we were like 9 points ahead and you're like, wow, we're going to stay up, everything's going to be rosy. I think we could have looked at it and gone, yeah, let's have a real bash at the FA Cup. We can't do that now. We're not in that luxurious position anymore. We now have got to really rotate in that sort of FA Cup game. But what I want to say about the FA Cup game is it's important some players play well. I'm looking at Tanakas, I'm looking at Nontos, and I'm looking at Buenotes in particular. Them three players need to play well and need to show why they should be playing. They've got a fantastic opportunity now. We've just had arguably our worst result in probably about 4 months, where loads of players have underperformed. Go out, if you're Gnonto, if you're Tanaka, if you're Buenote, go out and play well against Norwich when you get your chance. And then you'll have the Leeds fan support then. Because if they go out against Norwich, them three, and throw an absolute stinker performance in, like they did away at Birmingham, and absolutely stink it out, then that's their own fault. But at least if they go and play Norwich, play really well, then if we go to Crystal Palace and none of them get a sniff, we can go, well, they did what you said, Fark. They played well against Norwich, and then we can have that more conversation about them three players. That's what I'm hoping they do. They need to now, them three need to sense the opportunity because they have got a chance now. They play before the league game. Go and prove yourself in the FA Cup that you can do something. Go and do it. It's not particularly hard tie. They're in the second tier division at home. You should better do. Them three players should better perform at a really high standard for them. Go and do it. And if they do, then we can talk about Brendan Aronson and if Buenote should play ahead of him. We can talk about Gnonto and if he should be in the team. We can talk about Tanaka and say he should have played instead of Gruev in there. We can have all these conversations, but we can't have these conversations if these players completely stink it out like they did against Birmingham. Go and play well, lads. It's a call to you three. Go and play well. And then, as I said, if they don't get the chances, then we can have the conversation. West Ham trying to get within 3 points of us and Nivers last year in the season. Yeah. Yorkshire P says, very worried now. Agreed, mate. Agreed. On the positive side, I thought Nonto looked live when he came on. His confidence will be boosted. I completely agree, Andy. Completely agree. I thought it was so obvious that he should have been on for longer when he came on. I thought he made a huge difference. In fact, I would argue on the night he was probably our man of the match, and he only played half an hour. I thought he was probably in terms of that period of time, he was our best player, and he offers something different. He took people on. He put balls into the box. I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. But now back it up and play well against Norwich, and then as I said, then there can be nothing to sort of say that these players shouldn't be playing. One bad game for Buonanotte, he's completely out. Aronson had how many bad games last year and stayed in? Pro, how many pointless and useless sub cameos, yet he still gets a place on the bench. Yeah, I agree. I think that's fair. I think that is fair. He was, the only thing I would say with Buonanotte is he was absolutely awful against Birmingham, like horrendous. And the other thing with Brendan Aronson is, even when Aronson plays badly, I think Farke plays him because you know the worst case scenario is not going to be effective in the final third, but at least he'll help you defensively. Whereas Buonanotte, if he's not doing anything going forward, he's nowhere near as good going backwards. So that's why he plays Aronson. But as I said, when we play, if they play well against Norwich and have a really good time of it, there is conversations then that they should be in the team. And we'll come on this show, and I can promise you, we'll come on the show if they play well and say, Next week away at Palace, why don't we start Nonto instead of Brendan Aronson? Why don't we start Buonanotte instead of Brendan Aronson? Why don't we start Tanaka instead of Gruev? That's the conversation we need to be having. But we can only have that if they put half-decent performances against Norwich. Think winning against Norwich is important. 3 home losses in a row could kill the team morale. Fair enough. And I agree, to be honest with you. 3 wins in 15 isn't great. Yeah, it isn't, but we've only lost. It's funny people do this, don't they? When they make it out as the worst stat possible. Like, you can also say that we've only lost 3 in 15 as well. So, yes, 3 wins in 15 isn't great. But also 3, if you go through, well, we've only lost 3 in 15 and 2 of them against Arsenal and Man City, then it doesn't look as bad as well. But is it 4 losses now? It might be. But still, you know what I'm trying to say. Non-sub best player when he came on, I agree. So what did DF do? Sub him left wing, how many minutes so you could put Perot on? Yeah, true. That's fair enough. Do you think Buonanotte will start on Sunday? I hope so. He should. He should. Hi, Scott. And I think they are catching up time to worry. No, we will be fine. We need to start winning. We do. We do need to start winning. That's the final bit I completely agree with. Carl, yeah, I think you're absolutely bang on. We need to start winning games categorically. The thing is, as well, we have got a good fixture list still. And I know we're going, well, Burnley and Wolves are going to be easier. I'd still rather be playing them than Man City away and Arsenal away. Like, context applied, yes, them games might be more tricky now, obviously, because of what we've seen in the Sunderland game. The other thing with that, though, is that Sunderland were also, credit to Sunderland in terms of they were very defensively disciplined, they're very defensively organised, they all worked really hard. I'm not expecting the same level of discipline and organisation probably from Wolves and Burnley. Yes, Wolves have been better recently, but I'm not expecting it. I think they're more like to make an error, more like to give up a goal from a set piece, etc. than Sunderland are. So, yes, they'll play a similar system, but they probably won't be as good as playing the system as probably Sunderland were last night. So, you know. Team for Sunday should be Perry, Bogle, Bornout, Biol, Byram, Tanaka, Longstaff, James, Facundo, Nonto, Nemecha. Truthfully, mate, I think you've arguably got too many first teamers in there, if I'm being honest with you. I wouldn't play Bogle. I would rest him now. And I would play somebody else. I don't know who you want to put there. Anybody. Just play somebody else at full back, because it's just not as important anymore, really, if we're being honest. Why aren't we aren't going down even if West Ham catch us? Well, yeah, but the other teams can also pick up as well, mate, can't they? That's the thing. If Farke doesn't realise now what's needed, he never will. You need to play to win, as though you need to win and not play to lose. Yeah, in a roundabout way, you're right. But as I said, Farke will be justified if them 3 players that we've talked about stink it out again in the Norwich game. These conversations are almost a bit premature, because we need to wait for this Norwich game and we need to watch Buonanotte, Tanaka and Nonto play football. That's what we need to see. And them 3 players now should be absolutely desperate to be playing well in that game. They have to be absolutely desperate to do that, because that is such a good opportunity now. It really is. It's such a good opportunity. And I do think, in terms of if you can get them all playing to the best, which they haven't been this season, I do think there's a way that Nonto and probably Tanaka can definitely start for this Leeds United team. Like, I do think Tanaka is a better footballer than Gruev. They're different players, but I think he's a better footballer, and I do think that's a better midfield. Like, if everyone's playing at the best, our best midfield for me is Ampadu, Stack, and Tanaka. That's our best three. This year has been his Tanaka hasn't been his best, and Gruev's been outperforming Tanaka, hence he's been playing. But they're all the best. That is our best midfield, and that's what we need. That's what Tanaka needs to show against Norwich. Go and play really well, and then we can have the conversation. But don't do a Birmingham. Do not do a Birmingham. Anyway, thanks all for watching, as always. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Apologies I couldn't give you better results tonight. Unfortunately, I don't really decide that. But let's keep the faith, because we're going to have to get behind him. And we have still got lots of winnable home games. We've still got 4 massively winnable home games. We've still got Brighton at home. We've still got Wolves at home. We've still got Burnley at home. We've still got, obviously, Brentford at home as well. So 4 winnable games there. If we win 3 of them, we'll definitely be sound. So, you know. And we've obviously still got away games where we can pick up points. But that's the only thing. Why am I not talking about away games? Well, I'm not talking about away games. We can never bloody win away from home, do we? That West Ham result is massive at the bottom. We're all well in it now. Still think fixtures favour us. And West Ham have had a hard, will have a hard run of games. Yeah, true. I really don't understand why Tanaka's been frozen out. He would have offered a lot more playing last night than Gruev and Pro. I agree with that. I do agree with that. I understood why he started Gruev. And I know why. When he said, I don't really understand why Tanaka's been frozen out, I do. The last few times he's played, he's been absolute crap, if we're being honest. He was absolutely garbage against Everton when he came on, like literally horrendously bad. And he was absolute garbage away at Birmingham. Them two are a fact. He was garbage in them games. That's why he's been frozen out, because he didn't trust him, truthfully, Ollie. But I know what he's saying. As I said, Tanaka at his best is better than Gruev at his best. I would like to win the FA Cup game, because if we don't, it's 3 losses in a row. Yeah, I agree. That is true. But if them 3 play well, we probably win the game, don't we, Mr. P? To be fair, we need attacking Farks football instead of defensive. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to wrap up the show there. Hope you've all watching. There's also been a few people join later on as well. I have actually been talking about this situation for now about 26.5 minutes. So you're more welcome to skip back and watch the remainder of the show. Anyway, I will see you all later. Ollie said, what time are you live tomorrow with Spurs game? What I will do tomorrow is, because it seems ridiculous to not do it, I will go live after the Spurs game. So it'll be another late night show. So Spurs kick off at 7:30. If it's 7:30, then I'll come on at 9:30 again. If it's I think it's the 8 o'clock kick off tomorrow, then it'll be 10 o'clock. But I will go later, because me talking about what's going to happen in the Spurs game while it's on seems just utterly ridiculous. Anyway, see you all then. Thanks all for watching, as I said, as always. And let's keep our heads up, because it's not over yet at all. And we are still in a better position fundamentally than Forest and West Ham. We've still got 3 points and more. Anyway, see you all later, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.